These are movie sequels that are way better than the original film versus movie franchises where the first film is the best of them. It's not even funny how much better Sonic 3 is than the first two films. There's a few reasons why I think it works so much better. First of all, Shadow as a character is absolutely incredible, and he adds a much needed balance to Sonic's super hyper personality, because yeah, Sonic's still cracking a bunch of cringy jokes in this movie, but you have Shadow to kind of balance it out, give you some of the more deeper emotional moments of the film. The movie also just does everything that the first film does 10 times more. Like, there's more jokes, more action, more deeper moments. It just throws everything at the wall, but it kind of all works in my opinion and makes it just an absolute blast. The movie flies by. I really enjoy all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but in my opinion, Curse of the Black Pearl is easily the best, and this film stands alone as a complete masterpiece, like a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It's simply just way too much fun. The action is amazing, but I think the real strength of this film is having Jack Sparrow actually serve as more of a side character, because yeah, he's still prominent and has a lot of things to do, but the movie's really focused on the story of Elizabeth Swann and Will Turner and allows Jack Sparrow to just come in, have some amazing comedic moments, and let Johnny Depp shine without him being the sole focus of the movie, and you kind of need that, again, to balance out the tone of this film. Besides the fourth one, like I said, I don't think any of the Pirates movies are bad, but some of them just let Johnny Depp get a little bit too loose. He's just riffing for like 2 hours straight, and it gets a little bit old. I think it's a perfect balance in the first film. And this is kind of an obvious pick, so I won't spend a ton of time on it, but The Dark Knight is pretty widely agreed upon to be one of the greatest movies of all time, obviously making it better than Batman Begins. I do want to give Batman Begins its flowers though, because I do think that is still a really great film and one of the, if not the best superhero origin films of all time, but The Dark Knight is genuinely one of the greatest thrillers we've ever received, so it's kind of hard competition. Let me know if you guys think this is a hot take or not, but I actually think Toy Story 2 and 3 are both better than the original Toy Story. Now, this does end at Toy Story 4. I think that's easily the weakest of the films and simply just didn't need to exist, and sadly the same is probably going to be true of Toy Story 5. It could be a solid movie, but there's really no reason to continue this franchise. It was just getting better and better with the perfect ending in Toy Story 3. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think the first Toy Story movie is an absolute classic. Obviously, there's so many iconic lines and stuff in it, but I feel like there's just the least to take out of this film. This franchise just gets so much stronger once you already have the setting and characters established. With this film, Toy Story 2 and 3 are really allowed to just flourish with that. 6 movies into the Jurassic Park franchise, we still haven't had anything even come remotely close to the first Jurassic Park film, in my opinion. Yes, it's just an absolute iconic Hollywood classic film. The film is a classic for a reason. It's simply just such an amazing story. We got a lot more horror elements than some of the other movies get into, and especially the new Jurassic World franchise, that's just a complete mess in my opinion. Like, the first Jurassic World is fine, and then it falls off the rails kind of. This might be a hot take, but I think Blade Runner 2049 is easily way better than the first Blade Runner film. I've seen the original Blade Runner only 2 times, and I didn't even really care for it either time, which is kind of crazy to say. I know it's a classic film. It inspired this movie, obviously, and tons of other cyberpunk films that are like some of my favorites of all time. But I don't know why, I just can't get myself to really care about the original Blade Runner, whereas 2049, I feel like just does everything the original does, but better. I love this look into the loneliness of Officer K and this new futuristic world. The visuals, the score by Hans Zimmer, and the sound design is just off the charts. I'm gonna give the original Blade Runner a third attempt because I haven't watched it in a little over a year at this point, so maybe this time it will finally click, but I don't think it will ever be better than 2049 in my opinion. Spider-Man 2 I do think is slightly better than Spider-Man 1. I know a lot of people think it's way better easily, but I think it's actually pretty close. I do just love the Green Goblin and Willem Dafoe's performance so much in the first film, but this movie has an equally great villain in Alfred Molina being Doc Ock, and the stuff between Peter and Spider-Man, that dynamic, how they're like 2 completely separate characters and then merge into one with him losing his powers. I think that is just so beautifully orchestrated in this film, and that's what puts it over the first in my opinion. Flip side, I do think Into the Spider-Verse is actually better than Across the Spider-Verse. Now, when I first watched Across the Spider-Verse, I was just so blown away by it in theaters. I was like, oh my god, this is immediately better than Into. But now that I've had time to rewatch both these films a few times since the release of Across the Spider-Verse, I do think Into the Spider-Verse is the better film and truly a great origin story. Now, maybe this is hampered by Across the Spider-Verse being so abruptly a part 1. Maybe when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out and it's like an absolute masterpiece, it will make Across the Spider-Verse feel a little bit better, but I think right now I have to give the edge to Into the Spider-Verse. I feel like I'm just spewing hot takes this entire video. I hope some people agree with me, especially on this one. I think The Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King are both better than Fellowship, which that part I don't think is a hot take, but I actually think Two Towers might be my favorite Lord of the Rings film. Now, it's a little bit different because I understand Tolkien really wrote this as one story and it's kind of broken up into 3 books, so it's a little bit different because this is kind of just the middle of the story. But me personally, that's one of my favorite things about these big fantasy worlds, is being right in the middle of the story. Just watching everything be established and watching these characters work through their issues without having to focus on a huge conclusion like we get in Return of the King. Now, all of these movies are 10 out of 10s. I think there's literally one scene that makes it stand above the rest, and it's Sam's monologue at the end talking to Frodo. It almost brings me to tears every single time. Turning a comedy film into a franchise and having multiple sequels is always a risky move because it feels like you almost never match the quality of the original, and that was definitely the case in the first Hangover, easily being the best of the trilogy. The other two have really funny moments, but they're a lot fewer and farther in between than in that first Hangover movie, which is legitimately a comedy classic. Thank you so much for watching. We're approaching Oscar season, so if you want to see my predictions for every single award winner, make sure to tap the video right above me right now and check out all my predictions. Thank you so much.